Hello, and welcome to the SharePoint Framework and JavaScript Special Interest Group Biweekly Sync. It is February 28th, 2019, our last meeting in February. Man, 2019 already flying by. I hope everybody's having a good year so far. New thing, we're going to skip the intro slide. We're going to take that out to save ourselves a little bit of time. And, oops, looks like, oh, I see what happened there. So on the agenda, we've got the normal stuff, engineering update on SharePoint Framework, patterns and practices update across the various, I don't know, almost call them products, across the various offerings there. And then 3 demos or 2 demos, depending on how you look at it. David Warner on managing Office 365 themes from an SPFx web part. And then Nanddeep Nachan and Ravi Kulkarni are, I'm not 100% certain, I think they're going to co-present or co-demo, but we've got an image gallery web part and adaptive cards, and then some hierarchical site information, information from a SharePoint list, rather, sorry. So 2 great demos there from those guys, and look forward to seeing that. Just a quick statement for everybody on the call. Microsoft Teams. Yes, we have heard of it. Yes, we would like to use it. Unfortunately, it does not currently support some of the features which we need for these calls. So we're not currently using it. But we do know about it. We have heard about it. But it's just not something we could do because of wanting to pull in the community presenters. So we definitely are going to move there as soon as we can and as soon as it supports the features. So that seems to be a question that comes up generally almost daily. So just a heads up, we will move there as soon as Teams supports the large meeting and presenter features we need. So just so everybody's on the same page with that. Looking for opportunities to participate in the PnP SPFx and JavaScript Special Interest Group. Really encourage, if you're working on something cool, would love to see you demo it on this call. So that can be stuff around SharePoint Framework, any of the PnP offerings, so PnP JS, the CLI, the controls, or the Yeoman generator. As well, we encourage you to contribute on GitHub, and contributing can be reporting issues, submitting pull requests. Of course, you can always help with issues and questions. Folks have questions there in the list. If you happen to know an answer, it's always very much appreciated. And then as well, you can provide feedback to us on how things are going, documentation needs, where else we can help. And just a reminder, positive feedback is also okay. So just going to throw that out there. We do get, a lot of complaints and a lot of, why aren't you doing X, Y, and Z? And it's not necessarily because we aren't trying, but it's very much just a time crunch on our side. So, but not to focus on that. Really want to focus on getting all of you out there in the community an opportunity to demo. So if you get a chance, please do reach out to myself, reach out to Vesa. And, would love to get you demoing the cool solutions you guys and girls are out there working on in the community. So I know you're all doing cool stuff, and we would love to see it. So update on the SharePoint framework with Vesa. Take it away.
Let me unmute myself and take the presenter.
With Vesa, take it away.
Clearly you can't hear me, so that's fine. Okay, so I'm taking the lead and waiting to see the presentation. Okay, there we go. You can probably hear me, right? Right. Somebody needs to confirm. Hello. Thank you.
Yes, Vesa, we can.
Thanks, Patrick. So let's do a quick update on the SharePoint framework side before the demos and all of the other stuff. Just a few reminders if there's new people on the call. AKMS SP Dev Docs, AKMS SP Dev Videos, and AKMS SP Dev Issues are the URLs to remember around the SharePoint development. So documentation, video guidance, and also the issue list if you're running into any technical issues around the developer platform. Now, few reminders. This one was there actually already last time as well, so by 2 weeks ago. Just a reminder for everybody, we have an updated set of SharePoint Framework developer training materials, which is now 6 modules. It will be further extended by two additional modules when the 1.8 goes out. There will be, for example, a module related on Microsoft Teams tabs development in the context with the context of SharePoint framework or using SharePoint framework. What's really cool about this package is that you can reuse this package any way you want. We have videos for helping you to redeliver. We have demos, we have hands-on labs, we have presentation materials which you can use any way you want, anywhere you want. Everything is free for you to reuse. So if you are a trainer considering on delivering SharePoint framework training materials or trainings, you can use this. If you need to do an in-house training, you can use this as well. Or if you want and need to do self-learning, you can use the material as well. So please take advantage of this one. Oh, good question from Rajesh. Do we have certifications for SharePoint Framework? We're actually working on starting that process together with Microsoft Learning, which is our product marketing. So we've been having already the initial calls related on that, and we're looking into working more on getting the certifications available. But due to technicalities of making that happen, the earliest time would be later this year. So on the second half of this year, potentially there might be at least the first certification related on SharePoint Framework. I can't promise that yet, but the discussions are ongoing. And what I would ask anybody in this call, if you feel that you need to have a certification, if you need and if you feel that that would actually be beneficial for you, we actually need to hear about you. And that doesn't mean that you should send an email to me. That means that please go to the Microsoft Learning and the Microsoft Learning assets and the Twitter and all of that, and try and indicate that you really would be looking into doing a certification around the SharePoint framework. So you need to be active on this one as well. Thank you for that one on advance. So quick update on the metrics. Obviously, numbers are growing still. There was a massive jump right after the holiday break, and now it's slightly slowing down from that massive growth, but it's still growing. Every single week we're doing a new record on the SPFx usage in SharePoint Online. So let's see where we are in the end of March. Most likely that curve keeps on pointing up, so definitely it's not going to start pointing down. The question is how deep the curve will be going and growing in the user on the usage. Other things, quick update on the SharePoint Framework developer roadmap. So just a reminder on things. So 1.8 is the next thing which is going to go out. 1.8 was actually originally scheduled for today. So full transparency, we were planning to release that today. Certain alignments required for the Microsoft Teams and SharePoint, we will actually delay that slightly. So that will not happen today. But now we will release SharePoint Framework 1.8 by end of March, and potentially much earlier than that. So it's happening pretty soon. The big things in 1.8 is a general availability for Microsoft Teams development with SharePoint Framework. So that's coming out. Single part app pages is coming out. Isolated web part is coming out. Then the fact that your Microsoft Teams applications works natively in SharePoint is coming out, and a few other things as well. And then after 1.8, we'll work more on the store and app source story for SharePoint Framework and a few additional things as well. So no timings on that one. 1.8 is definitely a big one. So it is a huge thing. Now, Rahul is asking, will SPFx extensions support Teams context? No, actually. So the Teams implementation, that's actually an interesting question. If we expose the SharePoint page in the Teams, could I actually then walk into the Teams context if we think that's true? That's an interesting thing. But in 1.8, what we will support is creating Microsoft Teams tabs using SharePoint Framework. So there is a tutorial available on that. We're also working on the updated higher version of TypeScript and React that's coming, and I will confirm the versions latest later on, maybe in a week in the following community call. Now, one thing what we actually showed, Node.js version most likely won't be jumped to the 10.0 yet, but we'll see how that moves. And the library package support might be available. We are right now testing that one, so let me actually get back on the previous file. The library package version, did I actually have it? Yes. We're right now testing that one. It seems to be 90% positivity that we are able to push it out as part of the 1.8. Library package basically means that you can have one package deployed as a centralized, let's say in quotes, an asset or asset scripts like a locking or access to SharePoint list, and then multiple web parts from different packages can easily just use that code. So you have a one piece which is not bundled numerous times to same JavaScript files. You can just reference the one centralized package. So that's most likely is coming on the 1.8. If not in 1.8, it will come out in 1.9. 1.9 timeframe is around the build SPC, and a SPC meaning SharePoint Conference North America. Now, one thing what we talked about last time as well already, we talked about the new attribute which is will be available in the web part level around the supported hosts. And this is kind of an interesting thing. I slightly wanted to elaborate this this time. So you're able to, whenever you're implementing a SharePoint Framework web part, well, you are able to define where the web part will be visible. So is the web part visible in the web part picker? Is it visible as a SharePoint full page app? And I'll explain what it is in a second. Or is it visible as a Teams tabs option? And those options are then driving how your solution is getting distributed inside of the tenant. And this is the distribution of the solutions in the Teams section will be completely automatic as well. And we will demo this most likely if 1.8 hasn't gone out by next bi-weekly SharePoint Framework call. We'll absolutely demonstrate all of the capabilities there. So you will get a preview on that. Did I almost kind of a hint at when this might be coming out? But hey, we'll see. Now, the single page applications, I wanted to briefly, this is a mock-up picture and it's not super precise, but you can probably see what I'm actually presenting. But if you choose a SharePoint Framework web part to be exposed as an app page, what it means is that it will be visible in a create an page functionality. So in here, we are actually at the app pages tab in the create page functionality. So first of all, within around the same time as 1.8 goes out, we are releasing a new UI which supports page templates for the modern pages. So we're able to save any modern page as a template, and then those page templates are exposed as an option when you create a new page. Now, in that UI, you are able to click App Pages, and in the App Pages selection then, if you have web parts which are designed to be exposed as an app page, they will be exposed as an option for you to create. So that helps on you then creating a page or a single page application, and that will then have a web part inside of it, and this page will also support then configuration of the web part if needed. The app pages are basically, from an end user perspective, they cannot edit the app page because that's really the intention of the app page. It is exposing a single page functionality as such. The one kind of related on the things which are coming, just some previews, and these are still mock-ups. I can't actually show you the final versions of these things, but it's good to know where we're actually heading. This is the upcoming configuration options for the Microsoft Teams tab built with SPFx. So what you will see as part of the GA is that whenever you configure and want to configure a Microsoft Teams tabs built with SharePoint Framework, we will actually expose the familiar SharePoint web part styled property pane, which you can also override. So you're able to take advantage, for example, the property pane controls, and you can able to implement your custom controls, which are then exposed to be able to configure the tab in the Microsoft Teams as well. So really cool stuff. So that's absolutely will be available in the GA timeframe. And like I said, within 2 weeks, if we haven't GA'd and released the 1.8 yet, and I can't confirm or deny that right now, I will demonstrate this in the bi-weekly call. One more slide before we go to the open source area. Now we are looking down on our plan related on our mascot. So there's a gajillion reasons why we will be releasing a mascot, and trust me, don't worry, we didn't use any of our engineering resources or technical people to actually spend time on defining the mascot. So this is not resources away from something which might be bothering you in SharePoint Online. But this is basically for Smiles, and we are looking into releasing a new SharePoint framework, that's PnP Muscat, potentially plus toys. I'm looking into actually that option by SPC. So let's see what we're going to make happen with this one. We will release more information around the Parker the Porcupine, slightly later, so watch out on the social media on these things as well. And you might be saying, well, why are you playing around with those kind of things? Well, it's work, but we can every now and then we can also smile. So it's not, we don't have to be too serious on the working as well. And trust me, we'll definitely address the issues what you're reporting in the issue list as well. Now, one more thing. There was a good question. I can't remember who actually asked that around the SPFx before we go to the next section. Was around the fact that that bunny is moving. Interesting. Was around the fact that will we have new SharePoint framework extensions available? And the answer is yes. I cannot actually expose yet what are those extension placeholders will be. There will be new extension placeholders. That's Rapid is actually moving. Additional placeholders available, I would say, in SPC timeframe. So we're definitely looking into addressing and adding and including additional SharePoint framework extensibility points in the modern UI. So keep on sending feedback around that. Cool. I think that's it from my side. Patrick, take it away. Back to the studio, right?
Back to the studio. So quick updates on the various PnP offerings. PnP client-side libraries. We're going to do the 1.2.10 release will be March 8th. That's some interesting kerning there on merge. But so I know there's some PRs are sitting out there that haven't gotten a lot of attention. I know the issues list has also not gotten a lot of attention recently because there's a lot of work happening behind the scenes for 2.0 and trying to set that up. You can see some of what we're doing on the roadmap in the issues list. Items tagged with the roadmap label will give you some hints as to where we're going with that. Feedback is encouraged. Again, kind of try and keep it positive or try and keep it constructive. That's always appreciated as well. And we're going to keep trying to add to the roadmap issues list as we get closer to muting somebody who might have a very interesting sounds on the call here in a moment. And sorry about that. And so as we get closer, we're going to do a beta, the beta or soft launch, I guess, however you want to think about it, at the European Collaboration Summit, and my session will be demos and discussions around that new functionality. So if you're there, check that out. If you can't be there, we'll definitely follow up on these calls and other places with details on 2.0 as that gets closer to launch. So I'm excited. I think we've got some good stuff coming there for folks. I think we're solving a lot of long-standing problems or issues folks have had with some of the more structural stuff. So I'm excited and look forward. Oh, Siri, that's fine. And look forward to getting that out there and showing that to all of you. pnp.github.io/PnPJS for the documentation, the hashtag PnPJS on Twitter, and you can always follow me at MediocreBowler on Twitter. I am there as well. And I would be remiss if I didn't, as always, thank everybody who has contributed with their issues and thoughts and pull requests for the PnPJS work. So thank you all very much for that. It's very much appreciated by me and by everybody else on the team. Updates now on the Office 365 CLI. A new beta is out with, that beta is 1.14 beta, and that is for managing Microsoft Teams apps, getting information about Teams channels, and configuring in-place records management. So some exciting new stuff. I know folks from the community helped out with that. And as always, working on more commands and looking for your feedback to help drive that as well. If you've got ideas on new commands, the Office 365 CLI is a great place to get involved as each of the commands are fairly atomic, so you can kind of work on one little thing without having to necessarily update the entire library. So a great place if you're looking for an entry point to contributing on PnP. Really want to jump onto that as well. Office 365 CLI hashtag on Twitter, Gitter channel there if you have questions and discussion, and then docs aka.ms O365 CLI for the docs. Moving on to update for the reusable components, we do have now released 1.12 of the React controls, and these are the content controls. And so it's got some new controls in there, an iframe panel and list item attachments control, and the corresponding issues those came out of. And then as well some enhancements for Russian localization, a taxonomy picker so you can specify specific term actions, and then some bug fixes so you can track the issues down there with those numbers, but some great fixes as well in this release. So if you're not familiar with the reusable controls, there's two flavors. The property controls are used in the edit pane, and the content controls, or the controls React, are used in the body and the display. My God, I'm sorry, everybody. I don't know what my phone is doing right now. Are used in the body of your web part. And you are right. And all is right. Good Lord. 1 second. Sorry. Taking that off. That's really... anyway. So the property controls in the edit pane, content controls in the body of your web part, both are styled with the Office UI Fabric. So you're going to get a great out-of-the-box look that's going to blend in and make your application look very much a part of SharePoint, and they're also going to save you a ton of time. Thank you to the folks that contributed on this release in alphabetical order there: Patrick, Zhao, David, Peter, Alex, and Say Kit. I apologize. I am brutally bad with international names, and I am sorry. But thank you to all of you folks. It's very much appreciated again from all of us on the team for your contributions there, and look forward to more coming out of the reusable controls. Community Yeoman generator. So I'm going to pass things off much more smoothly than previously to Stefan if he wants to do his updates on the generator.
Thank you, Patrick. So today we released the version 1.6.3, and this version we already had some beta before that release, and this comes now with Azure DevOps integration, which was implemented by Vincent Piret. So what you actually get there is all the gulp tasks that are required for the DevOps in the gulp file, and you get also the YAML file automatically deployed to any solution you create, or you can decide it actually when you build your start up your solution. Another thing that is coming in, or is in this release, so you can use now npm version to version not only the package to update the version in the package JSON file, but this will also automatically update the version in the package -solution JSON for your SharePoint SPFx solution. And in case you have a Teams, it will also update the manifest, the version in the manifest JSON file for the Teams tab. Another thing we added here in 1.6.3 is the gulp dev. In a previous release, we already had a command gulp dist, which actually does a distribution build of your solution by simply clean out the solution first, then bundle everything up and package the solution. And with gulp dev, you can now do the exactly the same thing just for a development build. Another thing that we had a problem in the past, so chest was always marked as required, which is not always the case. So in case you don't want to use chest testing framework, you can now unselect this in the generator, and then the package.json file and all the things that come with this framework won't be injected in your solution. Another thing we get is we have a small documentation on our documentations page that gives you a short Docker file when you want to create a Docker image for yourself. Because we got this request on Twitter, how can I build with PnP SPFx a Docker image? And then we take a look and figured out there's a small problem there, which works a little bit different than the regular SPFx generator Docker file. and we pushed the documentation there in case you use Docker. And of course, we also included updates for the PnP property controls. There is now the 1.14.1 included, and for the SPFx React controls, we have the 1.12.0 included whenever you create a new project. And in this, for this version, thanks for your contribution, Vincent Beret, Thomas Berman, and Pete Skellig. And if you want to install or test out this generator, just use npm install -g at PnP generator -SPFx. Or if you want the more documentation, you find on PnP github.io/generator -SPFx. And now back to you, Patrick.
Awesome, thank you. And for folks that aren't familiar maybe with the SPFx generator, just a reminder, it is built on top of the out-of-the-box SPFx generator, so you're going to get all the same files and libraries under the hood, but just with some extra goodness added on top to help you jumpstart your projects a little more quickly. So great stuff there, and also a great place to get involved, and contributions are welcome across all of the offerings we just discussed. So if you're interested in getting involved, please dive in, get involved, reach out. Would love to have you, any of you who's interested, get a little bit more involved. And so now I believe we are ready for the demos. So we'll start we'll start at the top and go down. So David, if you are ready.
Yes, sir. Let me go ahead and share my desktop.
Take over the presentation.
You got it. Let me know when you guys are able to see.
Loading, loading, loading. Loading, loading, loading. And I got it.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for letting me demo today. For those who don't know me, this is my contact information. I'm a Microsoft Office Development MVP. Do a lot of blogging and vlogging, so if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Today, we're going to talk about modern experience theme management. So we're going to take a couple of seconds and discuss the importance of modern themes. There's some interesting perspectives on it that we as maybe just developers might not necessarily think about. And then we're going to see how we can empower those content authors and site owners, excuse me, to manage SharePoint themes with a web part that we'll be demoing today. So when we think of the value of a SharePoint theme, we typically think of applying colors. This is the SharePoint framework SIG call, so I think it's a large conglomerate of developers. It's a pretty simple thing for us to do and create, right? We go to the Office UI Fabric, develop a palette or configure a palette, go run a few lines of PowerShell, and we're good to go. But for a lot of marketing communications departments or employee engagement departments that are responsible for managing the SharePoint sites, a modern theme actually equals user adoption. And the buy-in by users for just simply having colors change is pretty significant. Now, you may think, okay, David, you're running a little bit overboard here, kind of blowing it out of proportion. But studies have shown that around the importance of color in 90 seconds is all it takes for us to make a subconscious judgment after the initial viewing of something, whether it be a product, a site, whatever the case may be. And in that 90 seconds, 90% of that assessment is based on color alone. So it's a pretty significant weight put on just color. So when we think about SharePoint theme management, applying a theme really, because of the beauty of the modern experience and the hard work by the SharePoint team, so thank you, we have single-click simplicity using those SharePoint UI themes. We just need to click on whatever we want to click on from a company theme or a SharePoint theme, and it's done. It's applied. As developers in SharePoint Framework, we can inherit from those themes to ensure that as our users change the theme, the entire site will inherit from it as well. So our web parts, our extensions, anything we develop will fall in line with the choice that the users are making or the site owners are making around the creation of their and branding of their site. So it's extremely empowering. Managing themes, though, the creation of them, the updating of them, the deleting of them, That's still kind of a developer-driven task. We have to write some PowerShell, and again, to us, that's very simple. But for users, it's probably not something they're going to do. The beauty is, though, that we have a REST API to connect through. So that allows us to create something for creating, updating, deleting, or my favorite, which we'll talk about in the demo, apply. So this is an opportunity for us to provide a UI for management of those themes to specific site owners or maybe higher level tenant configuration admins. But we want to make sure we keep in mind governance, right? So this is a very empowering web part that we could utilize. As simple as we'll see it is, it's pretty empowering. It's not something we probably want to throw into the tenant app catalog. We might want to scope it to something like a singular site with a site collection app catalog that specifies exactly who can get access to it, and then it's only used there. So that way you're not polluting that collection of company themes by anybody and everybody. So we want to make sure we keep that in mind. So let's jump over to the web part, but before then, I just wanted to take a minute and give a shout out to Bo Cameron. He's actually not on the call today, but he's a super big rock star, worked with me on this actually, so I just want to give a shout out and thank him for that. All right, so let's go take a look at a site collection that I created where I put this web part. Now, again, I mentioned you might want to put it somewhere that is only going to be accessible by some higher elevated privileged users. Of course, that makes sense that it would go in central admin, right? So we have our central admin site here, and again, it's a very simple web part, Modern Experience Theme Manager. We start out with the ability to create a theme, update a theme, delete a theme, and apply a theme. So the first thing we're going to go ahead and do is create a primary theme, but we need to generate the palette for that. So I've included a link here, UI Fabric Theme Generator, which will simply just take you to a tab I've already got opened here, which is the UI Fabric Theme Generator. And it's pretty simple to generate a theme if you haven't already done it in the past. You come in and we see we've got the primary theme color, our body text color, and our background color. We'll just leave those the same. We're going to change the primary theme color. So I'm just going to go ahead and paste in a hex value here for the kind of tealish that we are now having on our new SharePoint logo. And we'll capture the JSON. We don't need the code or the PowerShell. You could use that, but for this web part, it uses the JSON. So we'll go ahead and copy that. We'll go back to our theme manager, and we'll start out by creating a theme. So we're going to go ahead and call it PnP. We'll paste our theme palette, and we'll go ahead and click Create. Very simple notification. As we'll see in some of the code, I left it very simple so that it could be easily learned and understood. It's not overly complex, and you can build better validation and alerts and all that if you decide you want to use it. So we'll hit OK. And now when we come over to our panel, we'll go to Change the Look. We'll go to Theme, and we'll see we created it. So there, it's there, and it's available to us. But now let's say we want to update it. And let's say we come in here. Vesa maybe is not quite super happy with the PnP teal. I know he likes it, but we know he loves what more? Orange. So we're going to come over to UI Fabric again. We're going to paste in an orange color. We're going to copy our palette. We'll come back, and we see that the available themes has already been generated for us. And all these are being accessed by just a REST API. So I'm going to go ahead and select the PnP. I'll go ahead and select all of this, paste in the new palette, update theme. We can see it's been successfully updated. So if I close my change the look, come back, theme, we can see now we've got PnP, all orange. And then again, deleting it is as dead simple as the rest. It generates a dropdown for us. We select PnP and we select delete theme. It has been successfully deleted. We can confirm that, change the look, theme, and it's gone. I'm just left with my blog-based color schemes. So that leaves us with apply a theme. As I mentioned, it's by far my favorite because what it allows us to do is actually apply a theme without creating a theme. So you may be thinking, wait a second, is that even possible? Yes, we can apply a theme to a site without having created a theme within the Change the Look panel. And how that works is we actually tell it exactly where we want to apply that theme to. So let's say we've got an employee experience site. Maybe it's an employee engagement, employee events, something that's meant specifically to just for the employees to go to find out about events or things that are a little more fun within the organization. Imagine the ability to go apply a theme based on something fun, whether it be a holiday or a first day of spring or winter or summer or some internal event where you want to apply a color scheme that maybe encourages understanding or awareness of that event, but you don't want to pollute the change the look panel, and then everybody has availability to that, starts applying it, and then you have to go take it away and all of that. So for us, for our demo content, I've created the Batcave site. We all know I'm a big fan of Lego Batman, very funny guy. So he's created his little Batcave site here for encouraging and employee engagement within the DC world. You can submit your ideas, right? It's a karaoke night on Friday for Batman. But we see it's orange. And so Batman, well, he prefers black, right? Or very, very dark gray. So what we're going to do is we're going to come and we're going to go generate a very, very dark gray palette. So I'm going to paste in my gray. We see our palette has been updated here. And if we go back to the theme manager, we can go ahead and just call it Batcave. We'll go ahead and paste in our theme. We see it's using the 5D. And then you just provide the relative site URL. So we'll say sites, Batcave. Now you could make this more robust. Again, you could make it pre-selected, pre-populated. You could make it scoped just directly to a site. So if you wanted to give site owners of a singular site the ability to manage their own theme without the ability to go in and add to the tenant app catalog, then you could do that. You could scope it, not give them the ability to go update someone else's site, but just own their own site, which is pretty empowering. So we're going to go ahead and select Apply Theme. We see it says the theme has successfully applied. So we'll go back to our Batcave site. We will refresh. And we see now that very, very dark gray has been applied. And if we go look at our Change the Look theme panel, we see it's not been added, but it does actually show as our current selection. So it's a pretty cool way, I think, albeit some simple way, but a pretty cool way to provide a degree of empowerment to those employee engagement, marketing, communication departments that may own a lot of this stuff and really have a lot of passion around what colors can do and what they mean. So we'll quickly look, I want to leave plenty of time for the other demos. We'll quickly look at the code. Again, it's very simple. There's a pull request in the web parts, so this web part is and will be available soon. I know Vesa was going to try to process that, so it'll be available soon, so you can go grab it. It is pretty simple. It's based on an out-of-the-box web part, as you kind of saw from the design. It just creates the HTML, and then there's a collection of methods that are all individually done that allow you to delete, update. So if you wanted to just take out any one of the abilities, for example, here's the update tenant theme, and here's the apply tenant theme. So they're all based on a somewhat modular theme manager execution function. So again, tried to make this very simple. You can make it more robust, but for learning purposes, tried to keep it as simple as possible using the REST API. And that's it. So real quick, short demo, but just wanted to share how cool some of this stuff is for empowering our users. Thank you, guys.
Awesome. Thank you, David. Great stuff as always. We're going to go ahead and hand it off now to Nanddeep, who's going to show the hierarchy web part. So feel free to go ahead and please take over the presentation, and we'll get started on that.
Hey, hello. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, sir.
See my desktop?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So first of, yeah, thanks. So firstly, thank you for giving this opportunity to present my work in SharePoint framework. So today the sample I'm going to demonstrate is about displaying the hierarchy information in SharePoint framework client-side web part, which is probably stored in a SharePoint list. So before that, something about me. My name is Nanddeep Nachan, and I'm from Pune, India, and I have been working with SharePoint Office 365 and Microsoft Azure. Apart from that, I am C# Corner MVP, Microsoft Certified CSM, and also I have published my first ebook on SharePoint framework. These are some social handlers to get connected with me. So moving ahead for the actual sample. So I have been associated with SharePoint Patterns and Practices community since a long time with my smaller contributions, but this one is my first contribution as such for SharePoint framework. So this sample is developed around the concept of displaying the hierarchy information stored in a SharePoint list. So it is developed using React.js and SPFx version 1.6, which was the latest available at the time of development of this sample. So this sample can be accessed from this particular URL, which describes about how to install, configure, and use this sample. So sample also provisions the list as an asset, which can be used as a starter point for start using this sample. So going into the details of this sample, so what were the driving factors for us to implement this sample? So the idea behind developing this sample is that we wanted to show the project-based structure, wherein each of the node in the structure represents a user or a department or a policy and procedure. So by selecting that node, it will redirect to a specific page describing more about the responsibilities carried out by an individual. So we were looking out firstly something like an org chart which is available in Delve so that we can show the hierarchical data. But unfortunately, there wasn't any direct hierarchical control available in Office 365 UI Fabric also. So we went ahead and we utilized few of the NPM packages available to make this work. So the NPM packages use our SPFx JS, which is deprecated now, but we are in process of updating our code for this. So this was just to simplify the common operations within the SharePoint and SharePoint framework. Then the second NPM package what we used is array-to-tree. So that helps us to convert the plain array of nodes into a nested data structure. So we have an array which is coming out from a SharePoint list, and we are transforming that array into a nested data structure, which then probably can be passed to a React org chart. So this is one of the NPM packages that is used. And the last NPM package used is the org chart, which is kind of a visual component, which helps for creating the organization charts, kind of a data structure. So for example, if we provide a JSON format, something like this, and we use this org chart React component, so it will help us to render the data in this particular format. So then let's see like how the flow of this particular sample is. So as I said, we are provisioning an asset along with this sample, which will help us to get started. So it is a SharePoint list called as hierarchy, wherein we are storing all the hierarchical information. And then using SPFx JS, we are pulling the data from that particular list in a JSON format. And then we are transforming that JSON format data, which is one-dimensional data, to an tree structure using this array-to-tree NPM package. And after that, we are passing on this data using or processing this data using React org chart, which will help us to display the org chart in a client-side web part. So maybe instead of discussing this in a theory, let's see in the practical how it looks. So okay, let me just refresh this page. So this is how the hierarchical data looks like. So if I can edit this page, here we just have one property for this web part called as list name. Here we can specify name of the list wherein we are storing the entire data. And once it is done, probably I will discard the change. So it will start showing us all the hierarchical data. And even this data we can associate it with any of the URL. For example, if you want to show this to any of the or link this to any of the URL, it can be directly done from here. So for example, from here we can kind of mimic that this is representing any of the user or a policy or procedure, and we can link this to a page describing more details about it. So then just having a look at how is the backend data stored for this is that we have a simple title, then a parent, which is kind of an lookup onto the title, so that we can create a hierarchy of data. And then, for example, if you want to associate this with any of the URL that is representing this particular entity, it can be placed here. So since we have one URL representing this director of human resources, we can see that this particular graph is showing this node as an URL. Rest others, they are not URL, since the URL is not mentioned over here. So maybe going back to the code. So this code is again using this org chart as the visual component for showing the organization chart, and all of the data here is being pulled from a service which is again using the SPFx JS to query the list and get the data. So this service is pretty simple, that it just gets to the list and get the data for title, parent ID, and the other things. And then once we have that data here, we are kind of getting those into the hierarchical nodes so that we can represent that in a one-dimensional array. And once it is in the one-dimensional array, we are transforming that one-dimensional array to a tree using this array to tree npm package. And once it is transformed to the multi-dimensional array, we are stringifying it using a JSON so that we can pass it to the React component called as org chart. And from there, it is been set to the React state, and then that React state is used here to show the organization chart. So yeah, at least that was about how it has been implemented. I will just go back to the slide for the closure. So then what are the practical scenarios in which we can use this as an sample? So at least these are few of the practical scenarios in which we can use this as an sample. For example, if you want to show any of the company management hierarchy, then it can be used. Or for example, if you want to show project-based structure, or maybe to represent a document library structure in a SharePoint, or if in case we want to show the resource hierarchy for an access control or supply chain hierarchy, or for example, it can be used in a simpler way to show the family tree. So yeah, I guess that was all about this demo. So yeah, so thank you for giving this opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Thank you. That's always been a tough problem to solve, the hierarchy display. So this is going to be a cool thing for people to check out. And if you have questions, of course, you can get in touch with Nanddeep, and we will look forward to, or that's actually already published. I'll paste the links here shortly. Sorry. I was about to say, look forward to getting that available in the gallery, but it's already there, and it is available right here. And while I'm talking, hopefully Ravi is taking over the demonstration, taking over the screen. And he will be demonstrating this image web part. Hey, how's it going?
I'm good. Thank you for this opportunity. So,
yeah, absolutely. Thank you for presenting. Looking, I don't see your content yet. Are you sharing?
Yeah, I'm sharing. Let me know.
Oh, here it comes.
Okay.
Here it comes.
Okay, so yeah, now we are going to have a quick demo on SPFx web part, like using adaptive cards, and we are also going to discuss why adaptive cards and how it can be effectively used in SPFx web part. So I'm Ravi Kulkarni, working with Accenture as SharePoint O365 and Azure consultant. These are some of the ways you can connect with me and share your feedback or queries related to adaptive cards post our demo, and we will be happy to resolve them. And so moving on to the next slide. So you will find this web part at this URL, and it also describes all the prerequisites required to make this running on your site. So adaptive cards, adaptive cards are basically a common way to exchange card content in a common and consistent way. So you will find more information about adaptive cards on this link. Let me quickly navigate to this link. So some of the key features of adaptive cards is it's open framework, and it supports multiple platforms like .NET, iOS, Android, and HTML. It's easily responsive. It supports all common browsers like IE, Edge, Chrome, Safari, etc. And it is speech enabled and accessibility compliant. And it also gives you ability to add actions on your card, like you can accept any user input, or you can add a button and you can navigate to some other links and etc. So Microsoft provides us with several ready samples which you can directly use in your SPFx web part. So here we have a samples link. So If you go here in the left section, you can see the number of samples are all readily available, the activity update, calendar reminder, etc. But for this demo, we are using image gallery. So you can see there is some JSON present over in the middle section. You can easily edit this JSON, and Microsoft provides us a designer which we can use from the browser to design this card. So you can either click on the designer or you can click on try it yourself. Here you go. So in the left section, it gives you the containers, elements, and the inputs, which you can directly drag and drop in the visual tree view. Suppose if I want to edit this text, so what I will do, I will just click over here and just navigate to the text, and I will write PnP demo. Now you can see on the runtime, it has updated my card and as well as the JSON. So now how you can use this JSON in your SPFx web part. So you can directly copy this JSON and move into your Visual Studio Code. And we are using two packages over here. One is PnP JS, which we are using to retrieve data from the SharePoint list, and another one is the adaptive cards. So let me go to that link, and I will show you which package we are actually using. We are using this npm adaptive cards, and if you go down, you will get the entire information about how you can install it and how you can use it. So let's have a quick demo about it. So now the first thing which we are going to do is we are going to import that adaptive card. And then we have written a service which will retrieve us the images from the list which resides on the SharePoint, which typically have three columns, that is title, the icon URL, and the image link. Now we are going to update that JSON which we have got from the designer. So one thing we are going to do is we are going to create an object, and we are going to provide a type to it, that is an image. Similar to the image type, we can also use, there are another readily available types which are text blocks, text, etc. And we are going to have a URL type. We are going to print the URL in the link. And then we can have certain actions on our card. Like on click of this card, we are going to navigate to a particular URL, whether it's internal or external. These are easily configurable in the SharePoint list. So we are pulling that data over here, and then we are just pushing that into the JSON. And if you see, the below card is something which we have copied from the designer. So the first thing which is important over here is the type, that is adaptive card. Do not change it, else adaptive card package won't recognize your JSON. And then we have the body, that is a text block which we have just edited. And then in the images, I'm just passing the images JSON. And then we are creating an object of the adaptive card, and you can set the font family of that adaptive card. And then you are actually initializing your action on the card, and then you are going to pass that card, and you are going to render it into a div. So moving on to the SharePoint site, it will look something like this. That's it from my side.
Awesome. Thank you, Ravi. Really appreciate that demo as well. So great demos today from David, Nanddeep, and Ravi. Really appreciate that. And again, as always, I want to remind folks, if you would like to do a demo, please just get in touch with us, myself or Vesa, and we'll get you scheduled on a call. It might not be the immediately next call, depending on how the agendas are set up, but we will do our best to get you on a call just as soon as we can. And I do really think a lot of and we're back at the very beginning of the slides. That's fun. The demos really are, I think, one of the more valuable parts of these calls. We do get to see some of the really cool stuff folks are doing out there and using and creating for their projects, their customers, and their companies. So really exciting. This is just a review. I like to go through and review everything we've done the slides, and we'll get here to the end eventually. All right, our next SPFx JS meeting will be March 14th, 2019. The next general dev SharePoint Industry Group meeting will be next Thursday, March 7th. And hope to see all of you at one or both of those. And the recordings will be likely available tomorrow or the next day for today's call. Thank you, everybody, for your demos. Thank you, everybody, for joining the call this week. I very much appreciate your time, and look forward to talking to you soon. Thank you all.